Are the Rockies hitting a June swoon in April? I mean, is this the beginning of the end? Is it too early to say that? Is that not being fair to them?
Well,
they lose another game late. They blow another save to the Padres. They're now on a 5-game losing streak. Things are bad there already.
Would you do me a favor?
Sure.
Because I've watched the last 4 games on television. I haven't gone out there. I'm going to go tomorrow, I think, for a while. Would you, get on my iPhone and do a play-by-play for me?
Why?
So I can actually enjoy the game.
Come on.
No,
I don't want to do the announcer thing again, all right? I want to talk about the Rockies and on the field.
I made a request of you. I didn't say anything about it. I just here's what's going on. So in my mind, and trying to hold off. I mean, we have the issues that are off field in regard to how we feel about the ownership and the management. But they have played now 2 good teams. Would that be fair?
Yes, the Padres and the Dodgers.
And how many they won?
They're 0 for 5.
They've played the Brewers, who won 2 games, I think. Worst team in the National League.
They swept the Brewers, yeah.
The Cubs are off to a pretty good start.
They're a 500 team.
The Cubs beat them 2 out of 3 here.
Yes.
And they played the Giants, who are
going to be a
awful.
bad team this year.
Awful.
Yeah.
So here's the issue is when they come up against good teams, that's when that pitching really forsakes them.
Yeah.
And once again last night, did this sound like something you've heard before? Matzik walked 6, struck out 3, survived a lot of traffic
yeah.
word, managed to get through 5 innings. Didn't we just hear this about Eddie Butler like 2 or 3 days ago?
Yeah. And it's been going on with Matzik all year.
What we keep hearing is 5 innings, 6 innings. We're not hearing 8 innings. We're not hearing 8 innings with 1 walk and 3 hits.
Woody, in 14 games, they've had 1 pitcher throw more than 6 innings. And
wasn't that the first one, maybe?
It was Kyle Kendrick in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
The starting pitching is not getting the job done, but we told everybody, I know if you're a Rockies fan, I know you don't like to hear it, but we tell you this year after year, and I harped on it going into this year again, that the starting pitching is terrible. I told you it would be the worst starting staff in the major leagues, and it's on its way to being that. They've had 4 quality starts in their first 14 games. That's the 3rd worst number in the major leagues. 4 quality starts. And let me tell you what a quality start is if you don't know.
Yeah,
it's going 6 innings and giving up 3 runs or less, which isn't, in my mind, really quality. It's still a 4.50 earned run average. They've got 4 quality starts out of their first 14 games. That's not going to work because not only do those guys get beat up, but then the bullpen has to come in and cover the last 4 or 5 innings every game. And they're going to get worn out. 2 nights ago, Walt Weiss went through 7 pitchers. Last night, again, he went through a number of pitchers. They're not getting the pitching they need to compete, certainly not against the good teams. And I'm telling you, by May, by June, the bullpen's going to be completely burned out, and this is going to be an absolute and utter disaster. Once again, it's just starting earlier this year than it has in years past because the starting pitching is worse than it has been in years past, and it's been bad in years past. And that's more with less.
I was going to say, yeah. Who was that sponsored by? Mike the Headless Chicken was the sponsor of that. So go to Fruta, get some fried chicken, and go to Fruta.com.
Well, it goes back. I mean, we talked about this. They did not pick up. They knew what their biggest weakness was going to be in the offseason, and they didn't do anything about it except to sign Kyle Kendrick.
Okay, you told me. Now you're sitting there ranting. You told me give Bridich a chance. This is early, so we don't give him a chance. But he's a guy that supposedly has a quick hook in regard to he's not going to put up with crap like O'Dowd did. Drew Stubbs. He strikes out again last night 3 times or something. I mean, he's in the lineup. The guy, you got to put him out of his misery. You got to send him to Colorado Springs or Grand Junction or someplace. That's not fair to him even. He's got something really wrong with his swing. You don't strike out that many times unless you're, who's the old first baseman, Dave Kingman? Yeah. He's the only guy that struck out at this kind of level where at least he hit some home runs. Drew Stubbs, you look in the lineup. You know what his on-base percentage is? Guess.
100.
0. Guess what?
He hasn't been on base this year yet?
No. Guess what his slugging percentage is?
0.
Guess what his batting average is?
0?
0. And last night he missed a ball he should have caught in the outfield.
Well, I see that, and that's something that I watched him last year. They talked about his speed in center field and how much ground he covers. He takes bad routes to the ball. He is not a good defensive center fielder. Are you listening, Rockies? He's not. Stop fooling yourselves and stop trying to fool us. Now, back to Bridich for a second,
Plus,
though.
you can't steal first base, can you?
No,
Last time I
don't
checked
think
the
so.
rules.
Back to Bridich for a second. I don't think this is Bridich. I think Jeff Bridich is a smart guy who knows the pitching wasn't good enough. But he had trouble getting Dick Monfort to realize this because Dick Monfort still believes in Dan O'Dowd and Bill Guyvette. And Dick Monfort still believes what they told him, that Jonathan Gray and Eddie Butler are going to be his version of Koufax and Drysdale, Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling, Clayton Kershaw and Greinke in L.A. They're not. They're not. And not only that, they're not on the Major League club right now.
Well,
Butler is, and he's not throwing very well. So, I think this is a Dick Monfort thing. I think Dick Monfort is waiting patiently for these two guys that O'Dowd told him were going to be very good to develop, Gray and Butler, and I don't know that that's ever going to happen. And consequently, he would not let Bridich go out and pay for any more pitching. I don't think this is a Bridich thing. I think this is a Dick Monfort thing.
Okay, my next question. I looked yesterday at all of their minor league teams. Now, it's very early in their season, but I looked at it for another reason, even though Gray is 0-2 with a 9.00 ERA, and Rex Brothers, who they sit down, has a 9.0 ERA. But look at the Albuquerque roster and tell me how many guys legitimately you would bring up from Albuquerque. And you don't have to look it up.
No, I'm not. I'd bring up
rhetorical.
Barnes. I'd bring up Barnes, and I'd move Stubbs. And I'd be desperately trying to move Rosario, and I think they are. And I would bring up probably either Wheeler or Paulson to get another bat in the lineup.
Or Cal Parker, who was a number one draft pick.
Yeah, sure. But I don't even know how good those guys are.
Well,
I don't know what to believe from them.
Cal Parker was a number one draft pick. Really? Have you heard anything? He came up last year, and he went 0 for 2 weeks before he got a hit. And Cal Parker was another one of those quarterbacks they drafted. And I'm not putting down Cal Parker because we haven't seen enough of him to really know whether. But he's hitting 183 down in Albuquerque. There's only your AAA roster has on it, including pitchers and catchers, outfielders, infielders, maybe 4 players that you would bring up to any major league team. 4 players. 4 players out of 21, 22, whatever they carry on a AAA roster. So I go to AA because that's where they used to stuff people at Tulsa. I looked there and I went, there's a bunch of Odebergs.
Yeah.
You know, the guy they brought up that blew up on Sunday?
Right.
And I go, this is the team that Dick Monfort keeps calling. Some publication that Tracy Ringlesby probably writes for, or Jack Edkin, 2 guys you were close to, I'm sure, that they write for those publications.
Like a baseball prospectus or a baseball America.
Convince somebody that they got the best minor league system in baseball. That's what Dick Monfort believes because he's been told that. That is total bull hockey. That is not true. I'm trying to get through the rest of the week.
No, but Dick Monfort fancies himself a baseball guy now,
anybody
and he's not.
Anybody outside the organization that is not involved with them or some kind of connection, they are not what they are.
It's not a talent-filled organization.
Can I bring up something
Bridich
else?
has a big